gotten from countries like North Korea, Iran, support from China. Is there any concern at the Pentagon that the new space-based anti-satellite capability it's developing is a result of collaboration with any other U.S. adversaries? And is there concern perhaps that Russia, because of other deals to get help with the war in Ukraine, might have shared any of this technology with other U.S. adversaries?
Yeah, thanks, Jeff. Again, as it relates to this particular threat, beyond what Mr. Kirby provided in his briefing earlier, I'm just not going to have any additional details to provide. Thanks. Chris.
On the Houthi capabilities that have been degraded, CENTCOM's interdicted vessels with weapons bound for Yemen, are the Houthis regenerating any of these capabilities? Are they being successfully resupplied?
Look, I'm not going to go into any specific intelligence, but we do know that the Houthis are resourced and supported by Iran, and so again, that obviously is highlighted in the statements that CENTCOM has put out, and so again, that's something that we're going to continue to take seriously and continue to attempt to mitigate. Thank you. Let me go to the phone here. Jeff Shogel, Task and Purpose.
Thank you. I know this may be a question for Soviet Premier Putin, but the god-awful thing that the Russians want to put into space, is it like GoldenEye, the thing from the 1995 Bond movie? And is it time for all of us on the ground to join Jed and the Wolverines?
Jeff, I'm not sure how to respond to that. I guess we just have to live and let die. All right. Let me go on to JJ Green, WTOP.
Sorry. General, thank you for doing this. Again, on the Russian advance regarding space-based weapons, I don't want to ask you about intelligence or details about what's known about it. I want to ask something different but related. Russia has been pretty aggressive in space for a while now. And, going back to 2020 when Russian satellites were stalking U.S. satellites. In 2022, a Russian Ministry of Foreign Affairs official said that commercial satellites might be legitimate targets. So my question is, what approach does the Pentagon take routinely to, one, protecting U.S. satellites and U.S. military assets, et cetera. But in general, it's just keeping an eye on what Russia's up to in space because of its aggressive and somewhat reckless behavior in the past.
Yeah, thanks, JJ. It's a great question. And as I alluded to earlier, there is a recognition that space has continued to become more congested, as you highlight, all the capabilities that are there, but also more contested in terms of seeing strategic competitors like China and Russia putting capabilities into space that could threaten not only national security capabilities, but also commercial and private capabilities that are in space. And so, again, you have U.S. Space Command, which provides the operational capability to integrate national or military space capabilities, national defense space capabilities, which can include ensuring that we're able to maintain our operations, but also looking at protecting and defending capabilities in space. I'm not going to go into discussing any classified capabilities, but part of this includes looking at things like how we present capabilities in space. And what I mean by that is disaggregating, right? Previously, in a simpler time, you would put a large, exquisite satellite into space that had lots of capabilities. That's a single point of failure versus going to much more numerous, smaller satellites that are less expensive, that can be replaced more quickly, thus making it harder to take down a system, in one fell swoop. So there's multiple different ways that we look at this, but that's what the U.S. Space Force comes to work every single day looking at to ensure that our national interests are protected in space, as well as working with allies and partners on that same issue. All right. Yeah.
Thank you. According to U.S. Ambassador to Turkey, Jeffrey Flake, the Department of Defense is building 3 munition lines in Texas, together with one of the Turkish state-owned defense corporations. The demand for especially 155mm rounds increased after the invasion of Ukraine, and the Mechanical and Chemical Industry Corporation of Turkey produced them in some capacity in Turkey. What are the details of the cooperation, and what is the expected monthly production capacity of this Texas compound? And the last one is, do you have details such as chances for a U.S. sale or delivery of these to Israel in the future?
I apologize. I'm not sure I fully understand your question. There was a lot there.
Yeah, the Department of Defense is building 3 munition lines in Texas with Turkish Defense Corporation. And what kind of cooperation is there? Can you give us some details on that?
Yeah, I just don't know. I have to take that question for you. Thank you very much. Yes, ma'am.
Thanks, Pat. This is Tima from Al Jazeera English. I just wanted to see if you could give us anything further on Guyana and the urgent U.S. military assistance that has been reportedly headed over there. Do you have anything further on that for us?
I don't, and I don't want to wing it from the podium here, so let me take that question. Yeah, we'll come back to you. Okay, time for a couple more. Yes.
Moving back to that anti-satellite weapon Russia's developing, did releasing this national security threat publicly yesterday hurt national security in any way, or put anyone from the Defense Department at a disadvantage in speaking with their Russian counterparts?
Well, look, I'm not going to characterize it. It is what it is. Mr. Kirby addressed this from the podium today in terms of, you know, the declassification processes and procedures. So I will do my part in terms of protecting classified information and refrain from commenting any further on that particular topic. Yeah.
Is there a timeline for Secretary Austin to review the internal review on his hospitalization and how that was handled?
Yeah, I don't have a timeline. As you know, we've highlighted, he does have it for review, and certainly, again, we're committed to providing as much information about that review as we can, and so we'll continue to keep you updated on that front. Thank you. And last question, go to Mike.
Thanks, Pat. The Atlantic Resolve IG report that just came out, the IG noted that Ukraine is still operating under basically a Soviet-style doctrine in the field. I was wondering, since I was under the impression over the last several months that the U.S. has been trying to train them to operate under a more Western U.S. style of war. Has that been a success since they're still fighting the same way and have not moved in 7-8 months?
Well, there's a lot there in that question, obviously, depending on how deep you want to go. I would say, broadly speaking, I think the results that Ukraine demonstrated after being invaded almost 2 years ago speak for themselves in terms of their ability to improvise, overcome, and adapt on the battlefield. Had that not been the case, we'd be in a much different place right now. You know, instead of Ukraine having taken back 50% of the territory that the Russian military occupied at one point. That said, as you've seen today, it continues to be a tough fight. And the Russians continue to throw a significant amount of capability into the fight. You know, consequences be damned. And so we are going to continue to support them. We're going to continue to advise as best we can. But at the end of the day, it's up to Ukraine to plan and execute its operations. But what we will do and what we are doing is continuing to work very closely with the international community. We just had the Ukraine Defense Contact Group yesterday to ensure that we understand what their most urgent needs are, ensure that we can work together to get that to them as quickly as possible, but then also importantly, work with the Ukrainian military on what its future force looks like so that they can deter future aggression from Russia and prevent another invasion from happening. Thanks very much, everybody. Appreciate it.